Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And I think in the last video I mentioned that I'd refer back a little bit to my childhood, but in order to do that I have to talk about the people that brought me into this world. And yeah, those are my parents. So I had a just sort of a brief conversation with my mom, last night, just asking her about life before me and before us. And she just gave me like an interesting insight about like how she grew up, because obviously we grew up in different generations, so life would have been much different for her back then than it is for me right now. So I just wanted to get like a sense and a feeling of that. And I'm just gonna tell you like how she kind of grew up, and then when she had us. I need to be specific about that. So how she grew up when she had us, I'll ask her more later about her life before me and my sister. But definitely we'll give you updates, and then in a later episode I'll do an episode about my dad as well, which should be interesting. I'm probably gonna call him like after I drop this video. But let me start with my mom. My mom actually had my sister when she was 19. So this would have been, she says in matric, but I think just after matric. I'm not sure how the curriculum worked back then, because when I was 18 I was in matric already. So maybe it just worked different back in the days. Someone who knows about the curriculum back then, into the chat, just let me know what it was like growing up. So my mom was born in like 1974. So you can imagine like the time she grew up in. Like the 70s were mad, bro. Like just hearing about it and seeing what it was like growing up back then. You know, like a lot of the things we have now weren't even around then. So self-entertainment was like super important. Like being family orientated, I think, was probably the biggest thing. And just having friends as well. My mom had my sister when she was in matric. And she says that obviously back then, not knowing like what was going to happen was actually quite scary for her, because you don't know what the world's going to look like in the next 10 to 20 years. So I think that's also important to remember. Like our parents were growing up whilst we grew up. I mean, if my mom had me at 22 and me at 22, I just know, like, bro, I had no sense of maturity. Like, I don't feel like I came into myself, or like I knew myself to like 25-ish. So having a kid at like 19 and 22 probably had to be like the scariest thing, bro. So I think we just need to remember that like our parents are growing up with us. Like they're experiencing life as we grow. So so I just refer back to her. So she was actually like the first grandchild in her family. So in my mom's house, basically it's her, my aunt, and her brother. And if she was the first grandchild, that makes her the oldest of the three. So you just have to remember that, like, and I think that's also like where she kind of gets like part of her leadership, and like just her leadership and maturity traits from, Because you can imagine, like, when you have two younger siblings, like, obviously someone is there, like, looking up to you, like, oh, okay, um, what example are you setting for the family when you're going out in the world, like just trying to figure it out, you know? And then yeah, so she was the first grandchild in the family, and then she lived with her grandfathers, from what she tells me, and obviously, like, it's a different world when you don't live with your own parents, you know. She hasn't explained why to me yet, why she didn't live with her parents, but she says she lived with her grandfather, and her grandfather was well into ministry up until she had her first child with which is my sister, and then she moved back to her biological parents, but she was only there for like a really short period, and then shortly moved out back to my grandfather, which I never met any of my grandfathers. So from my mom's side, I never met them, and my dad's side either. So yeah, it's just really interesting to hear from her perspective why she did that. And then yeah, so she lived okay, so let me go back. So she lived with my grandfather back then, and then moved back with her biological parents for like a year and a half. Then ended up moving back to ended up moving back to my grandfather for like 1 or 2 months, and then also short-lived. So if I break it down, she would have lived with my grandfather for like the first years of her life. So from when she grew up to like 18 or something, and then lived with my grandparents, or my grandparents, and there for that would have been for like 1.5 years, and then moved back to my grandfather for 1 or 2 months, and then I think by this time she would have already been my dad. So lived with my grandfather for 1 or 2 months, and then had already met my dad by this time, and then after 1 or 2 months lived in Tedstonville. So Tedstonville is basically, like, if you know Alsberg, Alspark, Germiston side, that's basically where Tedstonville is. It's like just like in the middle there somewhere, and that's actually where most of my memories come from. If anyone wants to know and ask, I just remember going to like nursery school there, Teddy's. If anyone knows Teddy's, that's where I went to. So by the time she was like 20 and a half, she would have lived in Tedstonville with my dad and my sister, because my sister would have been born by then. Born at 19. And then they lived in a flat, which was actually a friend of a friend. So it belonged to my aunt's ex at the time, his friend. So back then, like I said in the start of the video, back then I think like having friends and community was super important. Like like everyone was just looking out for each other. Like you guys are all just growing up at the same time, so I assume it was just like a good thing to have your friends back. You know, like if your friend needed anything, like now, like you just want to be there for them. So yeah, they lived in a friend of a friend's place when she was 20 and a half, and yeah, which was my aunt's ex friend's place at the time. And then yeah, and then whilst living with my sister, so my sister would have been like 1 or 2 back then. And then yeah, so my sister would have gone to daycare, and whilst she was at daycare, my parents would be working. And yeah, that's when my mom went back to study, and she studied marketing at Tunisia. Ended up not finishing because I came in '96. Yeah, silly old me. I just just hopped into the world, and then she registered for a course to study bookkeeping and marketing at IMM. And I don't remember that time period. I more remember like I do remember like a lot when I was younger that my mom would go to like these places, and a lot of the places I do remember, like when she told me she studied at Dublin, I remember that time period. And she studied business management there. So this is all going to revert back to what she does now, in case you're wondering why I'm mentioning this. Yeah, so she studied business management at Dublin, and yeah, and that was all whilst we lived in Tedstonville, which is in Ulsberg, and then we moved to another place also in the same area, which was also another friend's place. And then later on, my parents went on to buy their first house. So this was like, yeah, like early 2000s, man, because you can imagine I'm born in '96. This is all happening whilst I'm growing up. And then the first small house that they buy, I actually remember, which is probably like my most favorite memory of us growing up. Like obviously there's probably 2, but this one, I think, like just looking back on the pictures and my experience of growing up around there, yeah, it's just nice times, man. Yeah, so they bought their first small house in Dawn Park. So to explain, like Dawn Park is like, it's like near Boksburg, but in between Vosloo and how can I say? I don't know what other areas are there. Yeah, but it's actually not far, man. Like just Boksburg area. If you know, you know. Yeah, so they ended up buying their first small house, which I can imagine would have been, yeah, really exciting for them. And then they buy their second house in the same area, which I also remember, which was a pink house. My dad drove a pink car. Well, it wasn't pink. It was like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, bro. But yeah, it was like this color, like that color. Toyota Hilux. And I remember him being excited about it. Yeah, pink house, such fun, but not the best memories because yeah, we had hella break-ins there. Like all I remember is that house used to be, yeah, bro. Like the amount of times I broke into that house was crazy. Like my dad would buy like sound systems, TVs, whatever you could think of, and by the time you know it, like someone would come in, break in, grab it, he'd replace it, same thing. So yeah, man, like security back then wasn't like the best. And then yeah, then we moved to Sunwood Park, which is my second favorite memory. So the first house, first small house, bomb. I loved it. I mean, I don't have any bad memories from there, so great, amazing. And then Sunwood Park. Yeah, I distinctly remember being excited about moving there because yeah, I think it was like our first like massive house. Like when we got there, I was just like stunned. I was like, oh my gosh, like this house is it's huge, bro. And like the area as well, like you could tell like was really developing. My school was nearby as well. Like everything just made sense. Like yeah, man, just like yeah, really wholesome, cumbersome sense. Like and a feeling like okay, cool. Life would life would start moving, man. So yeah, lived in Sunwood Park for a good couple of years. We still actually have the house there. Big up Sunwood Park. And then I went to school in Freeway Park, which is around that area, like Sunwood Park area. And my sister would have went to Dinwiddie because so my mom explains like this because my sister was already in daycare in that area. It kind of made sense that she stayed in schools in that area. Yeah, also because my parents worked pretty close to the schools there, so yeah, like just working away. Like I always thought like my parents didn't put my sister and I like in the same school just so like we'd have like separate lives and separate friends. Um, yeah, but that was the reason. Like it was just in terms of traveling easier for them, um, and for my sister also just already being in that area. Um, and then yeah, so my mom kind of like describes herself as an A student from high school. So from her whole high school period, she would have just been like getting good marks, and after high school, she attempted like a few courses, but she got bored because I think for her they were all a bit too similar, and yeah, and then she went. I think I told you back in the video that she studied imports and exports. Um, no, wait, sorry. Like I was saying before, my mom studied business management, but then obviously she attempted a few courses after school. Um, but yeah, like I said, like if you study one thing, which is what she studied, like a lot of business management from what I see at Damelin, at IMM, same thing. Um, so yeah, she got bored because they were all kind of too similar. Um, and then she went on to study imports and exports in 2008 and 9, and I think this is when she says like for her basically her whole life and perspective changed. Um, yeah, but whilst she was studying imports and exports, um, she went and studied. No, she went and worked at Bingo. So I think Bingo back then, if I go and check, I think Bingo was like a gym, from what I remember. Bingo, because I remember us picking up my mom there a lot of the time. Um, Let me check, man. Edenvale. No, where was it? East Strand. Well, I think it was East Strand Mall, bro. Yeah, but anyway. Um, maybe I should call her. Let me call her, man. I think it will make life easier.
Morning.
My mother.
Yes, Junior.
How are you?
Joanna.
Good. I'm making the episode now. I wanted to ask Bingo, what was it back then? Cause I can't remember. Was it a gym?
No. If you Google bingo, you see it's a casino.
It's a casino. Yeah, cause I was trying to remember but there used to be a gym next to it, no? Or nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Bingo was a casino. But then it got closed down.
No, they didn't close down. They moved somewhere here in Joburg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. No, I was just asking that because I was trying to remember if it was a gym or not.
No. It wasn't a gym. It was a casino.
Shout out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Ciao.
Love you.
Love you, ciao.
Ciao, bye. Okay, guys. Clarification. Bingo was a casino. You see that's what I'm saying. Like my memory is not the best, bro. Like I just have, just not the best memory. So yeah, my mom worked at Bingo. We used to pick her up there like all the time. Yeah, good times. Yeah, but then at Bingo, so my mom used to work as a treasurer, the caller, a salesperson. But she only did that also for a short period of time, and then and then had to focus on what she was studying at the time, which was imports and exports. So whilst she studied imports and exports, she actually got a job at this company called Tarsas, which used to be like located around like Modderfontein area, and she worked there for like a good 5 years. And then after working at Tarsas, she worked at DLM as an import manager for 1 year, because I think they just offered her like more money, but that didn't last long as well because what she was telling me yesterday was like Santon was kind of too far, so DLM was situated around that area. It was just too far for her to be traveling to, so she decided to move back to like Modderfontein. Just to minimize like the travel to work. And I can tell you, like Joburg, like bro, you'll travel like a good 1 hour, 1 hour and a half just to go to work, which is just crazy. It's just crazy, man. So while she was at DLM, she was an import manager, and basically just she managed the guys in the warehouse, but says like it wasn't challenging enough for her, so she moved to ChemQuest. And a lot of my time with my mom, and which I remember obviously when I was younger, I do remember me going to like her workplace sometimes after school. And a lot of the time it was at Tarsas. Like I wasn't really with her at the time when she was like working at DLM. But at ChemQuest I would have been in high school, and she worked there for a good 15 years. And she did basically everything you could think of, like marketing, accounts, shipping. She was just there like an all-rounder, which kind of, if you think about like what I do, yeah, there's like a match there. Like, okay. Um, yeah, and then what did I write here? I don't know what I did there. Oh yeah, so whilst she worked at ChemQuest, she opened her own private company called GoldQuest, and and yeah, what she was doing with GoldQuest, she was basically like trying to do like transport and like selling PPE, like stuff like that. Um, but this was like while she was working at ChemQuest, but while in her years of working there. So this was only in 2017, which was just after I finished high school, which was in 2014. So 3 years after I finished high school, basically. And then yeah, so going back to ChemQuest, basically was an all rounder there for a good 15 years, up until she moved to Fresina, which is where she works now. So Fresina was formed in 2019, and they basically sort of do the same thing ChemQuest does, and and yeah, after working for 15 years for ChemQuest, you can imagine like my mom just needed, yeah, just a change, man. Like I think yeah, how she was being treated as well at ChemQuest. Like, bro, if you're working at a company for 15 years, like you'd expect some loyalties there. So yeah, she should end up becoming a director at Fresina, whilst working in a private capacity in her own company, which is GoldQuest. Yeah, so that's basically everything about my mom in terms of like how she moved when I was born, when she had my sister. But then I went on to ask my mom her biggest learning curve throughout this time, and to my surprise, it had nothing to do with like raising us or anything like that. My mom's biggest learning curve was actually being a single mom, and I'll elaborate by saying it kind of taught her how to be more independent, because obviously during the time like my sister and I were around, she would have still been with my dad, so a lot of the things she would have done together with him. And so when they got divorced, I think that for her was the first time she thought to herself like, yo, yeah, now I'm on my ones, like I'm by myself. And yeah, it just kind of opened her eyes that yeah, she just had to become more independent. By her word, she says it made her like more stronger, and it really made her like focus on not quitting on this journey. Like, yeah, like you live life for a certain period of time with one person, and then yeah, it just comes to an end. And I can imagine that puts you in a setting where you really have to focus on becoming your own person, you know. Yeah, and then this kind of opened my eyes as well, because it made me think about like the times my mom told me like she was trying to work on things in terms of like studying and whatever, and because like the workload she would have at her companies, it didn't really allow her to finish. Like if she was studying a course to better herself back then, like raising me, being a wife, being a mom, being a friend, being a daughter, all of that. Yeah, I think it was just would have been too much for one person to handle on their own, yeah, it just made me really think about like how appreciative I am of her, and she actually told me like now when she was working, while she is working at Fresina, she tried going back again to study, but again because of the workload she has, like it's just kind of difficult, and yeah, just because like because of the person she is, like she's super reserved, like doing all of that also becomes a bit difficult. Yeah, so that again is an episode of Halftime Team Talks from my mom. Oh wait, before I skip all of that, if anyone wants to know, my mom is originally from Foslo, from Basutum. So, bro, don't ask me where it is. I have no idea. But she will inform me or like let me know later down the line about how she grew up before me, which should also be interesting. I don't know what she's gonna tell me, bro. But yeah. So my mom's originally from Basutum, aka Ghetto. If anyone knows that area, shout out to you. And she grew up there from when she was young. So yeah, that's another episode of Halftime Team Talks. On the next one, I'll catch up with my dad, ask him how he grew up when he had me, and then before me. And then we'll see what they say. Sweet.